Well, hello everybody. Welcome to Tuesday and welcome back to Aquarius Rising Africa. I hope you're all well. It's very much evening here, and I know you guys are. I know ARKHEIM is like, I think, 9 o'clock in the morning there. So, just to let you know, us Africans have paved the way for you all. It's a beautiful day. No problems ahead for you. You're welcome. Nice to see everybody. Welcome to the chat and really happy to see you. Those of you who joined the show last night, I was very grateful to see you all. Caleb he's come back again. And so please go and watch that show of the birthday. What did we call it? The birthday, surprise birthday guest. Yep. So go enjoy that. And also, now we have a membership channel. So please join the membership channel. We're going to be doing lots of amazing things. As well as over at Patreon. All the details in the description. So look forward to having you on board for some very cool things in the near future. And without any further ado, here is ARKHEIM RA. Hello,
Hello.
ARKHEIM.
Thank you for having me once again.
It's such a pleasure. It's really a pleasure. We had such a great conversation the last time you were here. And I thoroughly enjoyed the information you were putting out there. I know our viewers did too. So welcome and thank you so much. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. It's good to talk about this stuff, and it helps me out a lot to be able to talk about it. So I appreciate you giving me the outlet, and yeah, people are going to learn a little bit about the manufacturing history through time travel and how colonizations of other planets actually works.
Gosh, I'm really looking forward to this because I said to you earlier on, I said, listen, I'm trying to do some research on these topics and I came up with great big military vehicles with great big tracks on them and a few robots.
Yeah, if you look up Centurion, obviously, you're not gonna find any information on the planet. And Centurion has to do with basically, it's in the Roman army during classical antiquity. A centurion was basically a commander of a century, which is a military unit consisting of 100 legions. The size of the century changed over time, but basically it was somebody who was promoted from being an exemplary soldier and expected to become a strict commander of their subordinates and to lead their troops by example. So basically, the name Centurion is a designation given to a planet that, or it's like a designation. It's not just a name, and it has to do with the fact that it's a military-controlled planet. It's a military outpost. It solely exists because of the military. There are civilians that live there, but it's a military outpost.
So when you say it's a military outpost, what exactly goes on there? Is it more sort of AI, like big robot things, like I saw when I was trying to find something on it? Or is it maybe where they do training of super soldiers? I don't know. What happens there?
Okay, so Centurion 5 is a planet that was basically a class 9 planet that was it's a type of planet that due to time space distortions and where it's located in space, it can actually appear and reappear in our reality. So this is one thing that I've talked about this a lot. Like I've talked about how it had like a weird cloaking or something like that, or there's something where people couldn't find it. I'm now like getting the memories back that it actually was because it would literally appear and it would like shift into one reality and then back into another reality. And so because of that, it was literally completely hidden and it wasn't on any galactic maps. And so when it was discovered by the Joint Navy Space Fleet, which is basically like the UN, like NATO, like but in space, is a military organization. Um, there was a battle in the future between some sort of, the memory's fuzzy. I don't know who it was, but basically there was a battle in this region of space where we lost, and it was bad, and just lost a lot of people, a lot of resources, and it was a cascading effect where that after that loss, it just kept on coming, and so we found what is actually called Aurelia. There was a species living on it. They look like Admiral Akbar from Star Wars. It's a trap. That guy, it's a trap. If you've ever watched Star Wars, they look just like
Yeah.
that guy. That yeah, the Aurelians look like that. And basically, we went back in time to when they were primitive and they couldn't defend themselves, and we took over their planet slowly, uh, basically just encroaching upon their space. And
Who is we? When you say we took over their planet and slowly, like I can imagine the frog in the hot water type of syndrome, right? But who is we?
Joint Navy Space Fleet. So Joint
Right.
Navy Space Fleet is basically like just think of like the United States and all of its allies. That it like if we fight in wars and stuff like that, we fight alongside them. That's Joint Navy Space Fleet. It's all of us.
Okay.
Like it's like all of the American United States aligned space militaries. You know, Italy's in
Right.
there, Germany's in there, um, uh, some other ones. I think Poland might be one of them. But yeah, there. So in on oh yeah, France. And on Centurion, there's a German colony. There's an American. It's like cities. They're just cities, but there's an American city. There's a German city. There's a Italian city, and yeah, there was one city for a while that was there. I think it was the Italians and the French were sharing a city for a while, but then eventually the French got their own city because there was less French people there. But then eventually they did get their own city, and yeah, it's they tell people that Earth blew up, which is usually what they tell everybody on any breakaway planet because we probably would want to go back if we knew it still existed. And people would try to go back, no matter what, probably. But basically,
Wow.
they'd be yeah. You're told Earth doesn't exist and that we colonized this planet, and it's our new home, and it's a military outpost and stuff like that. And um, they're told they're told more of the truth about space on Centurion. Like they know that there's life and aliens and stuff like that in space, but it's still all a lie. It's all controlled. It's all manufactured. You're never gonna find anything on their planet in their media that makes the Joint Navy Space Fleet look bad. They control the entire planet, like everything. The digital currency, it's digital currency. There's no paper money. Every transaction is recorded. High surveillance cameras everywhere. But how this all happened is like how I even got the memory back of colonizing Centurion 5, which is Aurelia, um, was I woke up in this body, in this life. I woke up on a spaceship and I was drugged and looking around me, there are all these people around me, and they're also you can tell they're drugged because they're like lying on the floor or they're like slouched over and like drooling on themselves basically. And so I I knew that I was gonna forget. I knew that I was drugged, that I was already like I just knew I was gonna forget. So what I did is I ripped my necklace off. I like this necklace to never take it off. So I ripped it off, and the next day they put it back together and put it around my neck. I woke up with it around my neck, but when I examined it the next day after I actually woke up and like it was broken. I ripped it off and they put it back together. You could tell like the metal. There was a metal piece that like had gotten bent and broken, and they just like shoddily put it back together. Like, which you think
Was
with
there
all the
anything was there anything significant about your necklace that you
this
wanted
is
to hold it or that they broke it?
this necklace I always wear it. I never take it off, and I gifted it to my grandma in Italy on a time travel mission. So this is actually from the Project
Right.
Phoenix, and this is a medallion that belongs to me, and basically, it's this can help me go back to the reality I come from. I think once I have the opportunity to do that, because it's from there. I think, or it's a grounding point. Maybe it's not the reality that I come from, but basically a portal can scan this and tell what reality it's from. Like, okay, that's where you
Right.
want to. Because portals are alive. They're sentient, by the way. Some of them, gateways. But yeah. So this is a phoenix coming out of a portal, and so yeah, I actually gifted this to my grandma on a time travel mission in Italy. Uh, my the grandma in this life, who probably isn't even my biological grandma, because I was inserted into this life through surrogacy. But she was visiting Italy with her sister, and I sent a bottle of wine to her table and made this whole excuse of, oh, I'm American too. Fancy seeing you in Italy. And I gifted her the necklace, knowing that the version of me. See, on the other side, I was aware of this life getting set up and being manufactured. The memory isn't clear, but I was aware of it because I know that I set up for myself to get this necklace. I knew that this version of me would end up with this necklace and that I needed to end up with this necklace.
Right.
So
Right.
this has been the biggest confirmation of me to the fact that I'm in the programs, and that's why I never take it off. Is because it reminds me that I'm not crazy. It reminds me that this is real. This really happened. No one's ever seen my grandma wear this necklace. We found it in her stuff after she passed away, and I think she just was like, I don't, I think it's because she just was gifted by this weird time traveler guy. She didn't know I was a time traveler, but or maybe she did. The memory isn't clear. I don't think she did though. I remember it being like more of like Americans visiting Italy, and they thought we were just tourists too. But yeah, that's the significance behind the necklace. And but like ripping it off, it grounded me in that moment because obviously like I did wake up and think, was I just on a spaceship? But then I felt my necklace was there. It's like, oh, I guess it was a dream. But then the next day when I woke up and I actually like took a shower and stuff and took off my necklace and everything for that, um, I noticed that the chain link had been broken and it was a real memory, which believe me, I was still warming up to the stuff though. I knew what happened. I was remembering Montauk, but that was just like I had never ever had that yet where I had physically did something out there in the programs and then it registered here in this like it was the first time that ever happened. And yeah, basically I was able to follow that rabbit hole of that small memory. And if it wasn't for that, I might not have remembered any of this. And basically it's crazy. It's crazy. They took me at least 20 times. I'm not kidding. For 20 entire lifetimes. Lifetimes. Whole lives, okay? And when we first got there, I knew they let me remember, and I knew exactly what I was doing. I was my alter Ryan Sterling. I knew exactly what I was doing, and I knew that we were colonizing a planet. And basically, it started with like we landed a ship, we put tents on the surface. We stayed in tents at first. Then we started building cabins. We got running water, plumbing. I literally watched a plot of land with some cabins on it turn into a thriving megatropolis with millions of people living in it. Probably, maybe even billions with a B. I don't know. It's at least millions though, and it was huge. It makes like I've never been to Asia. I hear that cities in Asia like make American cities look small, but I've never seen a city like I said, I've never left the United States really. So, but the cities that I've seen here in the United States are like small towns compared to how fucking big and compact and just like shoved in just like everybody was. And yeah, I watched it go from like I said like multiple lifetimes of living there, and I watched it go from not even having running water to having giant skyscrapers and just it was craziness. And yeah, I like I said, they allowed me to remember stuff for the first lives that I lived there because I needed to know what was going on. But I lived entire lives there where I didn't know who I was or why I was there. One of the alters was his name was Marshall Howard, and he was just like a normal construction worker, or he did mining, but he was just a worker. And basically, it's just they work you to death. They hardly pay you. They use food as a tool to control people. You think of the World Economic Forum.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
they were totally in control of this planet. Like everything you hear about,
Wow.
like the World Economic Forum wanting to do on Earth, it was implemented on this planet. Nobody
Wow.
nobody really owned anything. Everybody rented everything. Everything was heavily monitored. Everything was heavily controlled. The information was controlled, policed. Like I said, digital currency. So like every transaction recorded, and it was heavily districted. So those 15-minute cities, like you needed a special. Basically, everyone was supposed to stay in their district, not allowed to leave. And here's another thing. Yeah, food is turned into. They did the crickets wanting to feed people bugs. So everybody was supplied with this like powder that you got in the mail, or I don't even know how it was, but I remember it was delivered right to your door. And you mix it with water, and it makes like this powder, and you eat it, and you could eat that for every meal. And that was their claim to fame. There was really cricket shell like powder. It's like flour, like there's crickets in it and stuff. It's like the cheapest food you could possibly make. And they show it in Star Wars when Rey mixes like this powder in this drink and it fluffs up. That's real. That exists in the Breakaway, and that's what you would eat. And due to that, they're like, oh, we supply everybody with food, so nobody starves here. Pat us on the back. We're great. We are the greatest government ever. But nobody starves on Centurion. But the reality is, you will literally kill someone for a fucking sandwich if you've eaten this powder shit for enough time. It's not real food. Human beings need real food. It might have the nutrients and all that in it on paper, but food has energy in it, you guys. Okay, there are planets in the Breakaway, places in the Breakaway, where in order to cook food for people, you need to pass a aura test every day or monthly or yearly. And there's tiers. So like there's green tier, yellow tier, red tier. Green tier means they're scanned every single day. Their aura is scanned every single day. The restaurant owns one of these scanners. They're scanned. They haven't been drinking. They haven't been smoking cigarettes. Their energy's clean. They're not going to put any negative energy. They literally have to be like fucking monks to be a cook, to be a chef on some Breakaway planets. You have to be like a monk because people know that you're putting your energy into people's food. So like, and then so it depends. Like there and the like food that isn't is prepared by somebody who doesn't have one of these things. And I think this came later on Centurion, like way later in the future. We did have this on Centurion eventually, but it was like far off or way into the future of Centurion. But basically, yeah, like that, like how expensive the food is and how clean it is considered by how often these guys are tested. Yeah, it's kind of like a whey or a protein shake, but it fluffed up into like a bread when you mixed it. And yeah,
Would you say, because the more we listen to the horrors that have been going on, the more we understand that. I mean, like speaking to Jessie Zabota over the years, one of the things that she's spoken about as part of the cannibalism is that they literally put the crushed up remains of the children in our food.
yeah.
And so it would be in like the more organic, natural, sort of grainy type foods. So
I mean
that's
they've tested meat, and they've shown that there's been human meat in it over and over again, over and over again.
right.
And even they've did it. There's these vegan hot dogs that they had where they tested it here in the United States. They had human meat in them. They were supposed to be vegan. They're like, soy hot dogs. They had human meat in them. So they very much so do that because you have to understand, eating people makes you deranged. It makes you crazy.
Right.
It makes you psychotic. These people are fucking psychotic. They know that it changes our brain chemistry. They know that it changes us and who we are. It makes us more violent and unpredictable and stuff. They want that. They want us to be more like them. So that's why they put fucking human flesh in the food supply. That is 100% real.
And I totally believe that. I mean, that is absolutely, and it's also, and then it's cursed. apparently our food is cursed like that as well, and then we wonder
Yeah. They
why.
curse food like for instance like Voodoo Donuts here in fucking Portland, Oregon. That place, those people that own that, they're like alchemists, like sorcerers, and they're doing really weird stuff with the donuts, like putting spells in them and stuff to make things happen. And they have a portal underneath the restaurant, which is next the donut shop, which is next to the Kit Kat Club. And the Kit Kat Club, it's a strip club that has a portal underneath it, and it's connected to the Kit Kat Club in Berlin. And I ran into, get this, Till Lindemann from Rammstein. I ran into him, who I know from the Breakaways. We know each other from the programs. He's in the programs. I ran into Till Lindemann at the Kit Kat Club on New Year's Eve last year, not this year, last year, and he was playing a concert in Mexico. So like,
Wow.
he shouldn't have been there, but it was him. It was Till Lindemann of Rammstein. I know that's kind of off the subject, but it kind of led there. Just an interesting thing that happened to me, and I had people with me. My friends were there. Like we ran into Till Lindemann, and he like started talking to my friend, like asking him questions. Like he acted really weird, and my friend could tell he was German, and he was trying to hide the fact that he was German, so he purposely mispronounced Hamburg because he knows how much they hate that. And he got him. He's like, it's Hamburg, Hamburg. Like he got Till to like be like, okay. It
Wow.
was a really weird night. It was a really weird night. We ran into him, but like, yeah, there's back to the food. Like, there's a reason why they don't want us to grow our own food and stuff. Like, there's this article I saw recently that literally is the stupidest shit ever. It's like, um, growing your own food is bad for the environment. Have you seen that article? It's a real article floating around. That's like,
You
hey,
have got to be kidding me.
yeah, it's like it'll because it takes carbon to move it and build the shed and da 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 da. I'm like, okay, sure, let's use the garbage fake mind control metrics just to entertain ourselves for a minute. Okay, well, what if that shed stands there for hundreds of years and you pass it on to your children and your grandchildren and everything else? Then that's definitely gonna, the carbon thing is stupid. We all know that, but just hypothetically using their own stupid metrics, like
Right.
eventually it would offset because you'd be growing like that is the like being one with the earth is bad with the environment. That's the point of fucking mental gymnastics we've gotten to with these people. Like, you have to
Yeah.
be an idiot to believe this stuff. Like, sorry,
Wow.
I don't mean to get too far off track, but it is on track because it's like you're talking about the food and how
No, it is. It is.
it's a big way they use to control us. And one thing I can tell you though, which is nice, it's the good news. You can bless your food. In fact, there's a reason why in
Yes.
many cultures you have to pray before you eat. You're asking God to bless the food. The food's already blessed, maybe because you're grateful for it, but you can go an extra step and literally bless the food. And it's been shown how like you can say like I love you to water, and it changes, all that stuff. Do that
Oh,
to your food.
yeah.
Yeah, in fact, I'm preaching to the choir here, but like I should do that more. I forget when I eat a lot of times that I should bless the food before I eat it. I guarantee you that like I mean, it's unfortunate we just live in a world where it's very hard to control what you're eating and the fact that it's clean. So that's kind of a nice thing that people can do. And you don't have to be a shaman or whatever. All you have to do is believe it. Believe that it's working. Believe that you're doing it, and it does help. In fact, I would guess that if scientists were to study it somehow, if they could, you could literally probably prove that it changes the molecular structure of the food. But I
I'm pretty
digress.
sure it does.
Yeah, yeah.
In fact, there's no doubt in my mind. Everything responds to love. I mean, you were talking about the water experiments that were done. I mean, I remember seeing one of those little water crystals where they said, "I'll kill you," to
Mm-hmm.
the water, and when they took the photograph of the crystal, you could literally see a little guy with a gun that looked like a gun. So it absolutely takes on the imprint of the thought, for
Yes,
sure.
human psyche. Carl Jung talks about how human psyche is the root of all suffering and all problems on earth, and it is the root of all evil on earth, and it's true. Um,
Absolutely.
I spoke to this blue being, um, the blue people, I guess they're like an ET race that exists in a higher frequency. Yeah, Dr. Emoto. But she told me I had this. She was something Shiva, which I think is like a last name. It's not the male Shiva. It was a female Shiva. Um, but anyway, she told me that um, our thoughts are like weapons, like daggers, like. She said that every single bomb that's been dropped, every single battle that's been fought, it came from fear. She explained to me that there's only two different vibrations. There's fear and love. That's it. Everything else is just in between those two things.
Exactly.
And she basically explained that, like, yeah, like every bullet fire, every bomb dropped, it started with fear, it started with a thought, and it starts with the human psyche. So this is something that humanity needs to kind of keep in mind more, is our minds are the breeding ground for all war, for all suffering, the way we look at the
Exactly.
world. And it's very hard because we're being subjected to brutal a brutal, endless onslaught of mind control by a satanic cult that has weaponized itself, you know, on every corner of the globe.
This is what I wanted to ask you, though. And I understand that, the human psyche, the human mind, are our thoughts really our own? Many times, especially when we're looking at schizophrenia, stuff like that, we will think that the thoughts are own, but it turns out that they're not really your own. So it's up to us to get ourselves into that absolute positive alignment state where you actually do hear thoughts or the inspirations, if you will of the divine, which then become your thoughts, right? So it's really what you're tapping into that becomes your thoughts. So my question around this is if we're looking at the human being that has created this bullshit, right? And I'm putting it in layman's terms. So, but I understand that they can only use and control you to the point that you are willing and open and accessible, right? You have that will, but yet they impose their will upon many innocent, and I say innocent because it's like I see many human beings as actually being quite innocent. It's like a little plant growing out of the ground, and then you have the big tree coming crashing over it. That's what I'm saying. So is it really human beings that have become that evil, or is it that those that have controlled the human psyche for such a long time that have used humans to do these evil tasks? But we would not be able to be doing evil unless it wasn't already existing within us. I totally get that. So I just like your take on that.
I personally believe that all the problems that humanity has when it comes to not being able to be peaceful and being violent and being basically like the satanic cult, they're emulating the lizards. They're emulating the dragons, the Draco, that they worship. They want to be like them. And that they are might is right. Like they have a ritual in their culture where like they kill the weakest child in the family every year. And that's a celebration. Like that's great. They love it. Like that's a celebration to them. Like their culture is so different than ours, and there's something to be said maybe about respecting. Like, don't be xenophobic. Like even though their culture seems really messed up to us, like respect it. But the unfortunate truth is, due to our elite interacting with these psychotic lizards, they emulate them. Because the lizards they eat people. They eat people. You know what I mean? They eat people alive. Adrenochrome, they're addicted to it. They love adrenochrome. They're emulating the lizards. That's all they're doing is they're just trying to be like the lizards. And some of them literally are the lizards and they're shapeshifters and stuff. So that's important to keep in mind. And one thing I want to bring up before I forget it, next time you have me on here, you should see if you could have Jesse and I on a show together. Because I bet you that'd be really cool.
Jesse the Vertile. That
Yeah,
would be
yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, we might even know we probably know each other considering she was close to Elon and stuff.
Yeah, she was. Just to answer that question, I think what you're saying is, what does fear break down to? I say fear is false evidence appearing real. False evidence appearing real. And I've proved it to myself over and over and over and over again. If you have the faith, within you, you walk towards your fears, and those fears dissolve. Tell you that much. It's crazy how that happens. Anyway, it's a journey and a process to get there. But it's interesting what you're saying about emulating the reptilians, because don't we have a little bit of reptile in us anyway, within our own human DNA?
We're well, they say that in the womb, like we kind of go through all the, like, mammal, lizard, or whatever. Don't they say that we go through all the different things? And yeah, we've got all sorts of, we're a hodgepodge of different ETs and things like that. I mean, like, that's another thing too, is like there used to be ET all over the earth and stuff like that, and they would breed with us sometimes. So some people are like literally part ET and stuff. So yeah, it's pretty wild. It's pretty wild. And I don't know. Sorry, I just got a brain fart. Just got lost in thought.
No, all good, all good, all good. Um, so I want to just reverse a little bit. Sorry, and I interrupted you earlier on when you were talking about when you guys from the Joint Navy Space Fleet, right, were colonizing these breakaway planets.
Yeah,
Okay, so
specifically Centurion. That's the one. Like, I know I've been a part of the colonization of Mars, and all sorts of other places, but Centurion 5 is just because of the necklace thing. Honestly, that's why. It's because the physical grounding of that one moment that was supposed to never be remembered by me, and now, right, the here and now, that is what brought it all in. And to explain it, like how it all happened, like I said, I lived multiple lifetimes. I watched it grow. In some of these lives, I actually knew I was a time soldier doing this stuff, and I knew what was going on. And here's another thing too: is there's the ship outside of what's going on in a time bubble, monitoring everything. And so the ship would, like, literally have to keep in mind, like, they like I lived an entire life on the surface. I had I had kids and stuff like that. My son died, and they couldn't even, no help. He died in a river accident. Like, they couldn't come down and save him or anything. Like, that's how. So, like, but anyway, like, they come down on I'm an old man. Okay, for me, 100 years has passed or whatever, and they're like, all right. For them, it's been 5 minutes. Like, and they're like, how have things been? Good. Look at what we built. All right, we're gonna regen you, give you a new body and stuff like that. You're gonna do this all over again a few times. We got to build this up more. We're bringing in more colonists. We got a few more ships coming in. We got enough infrastructure where we can do that now. Thank you. You know what I mean? And I literally watched it, like I said, building a whole city. And you might ask, well, how did it happen? Well, first, we started in the territory near where the Aurelians lived, because it was cleared out kind of already, and they lived in swampy regions. This is a very tropical planet with lush giant forests full of fucking dinosaurs and stuff, like literal T-Rex, pterodactyls, and they will eat you. They will eat you. You are food to them. So the first thing that we did once we established the colony, and it was like we had like colonists, and we wanted to take it to the next step, build skyscrapers, all that crap. They put us into human bodies that are oversized, so like Hulk bodies that are like the size of, like, I don't know, like a 2-story tall building maybe.
what do you mean they put you in human bodies, oversized human bodies? How do they explain how they put you in there?
They just made, I don't know how they do it. I don't know the science, but they have these giant human bodies that are just like my body now, except imagine this body, but like 100 times bigger. Or I don't know what it was.
Wow.
Yeah, and look into the Hulk programs. That's something that they do with the Hulk programs. But basically, when we had body suits, and we had these laser guns, and we just chopped down the whole forest with these laser guns, and just like started it on fire, burned it all, clear cut it, and literally we had to fight dinosaurs and stuff with these nothing could come at us. We had laser guns. It literally just cut through everything. And we just leveled the whole entire region and just built the first megatropolis city on Centurion. And, that just repeat. I mean, and I remember for all the other cities, it's the same thing. And I remember that, I was part of building the roads. And I remember, this is the crazy thing, because this is one of the memories I got. Marshall was getting memories of Earth and me in my life. Right? Like, I get memories got memories of his life. he was getting memories of Earth. And I remember he was working in a construction crew on a road, and he was telling the guys about Earth. He's like, they're lying to you. It's still out there. Like, I know it. Like, they're not telling us the truth. Like, they're using us as pawns to build everything here and colonize this planet. I was like, you see that stop sign? The reds, like the hexagons, like they look exactly the same on Earth. I'm like, there are planets all throughout the breakaways. The stop signs all look the same. They got yellow school buses. Every single planet, the school buses are fucking yellow. They got the little sign that pops out. I'm like, everything's the same. The signs, the street signs, they
What
look the same. Like,
what's the significance of the yellow school bus? Because there's got to be something. I mean, if it's all already on these breakaway planets or colonies,
it probably has
what,
something to do with programming. It probably
I was going to
does.
say
Because
that whole
I know that they literally will take kids in school buses to programs, and then there's this show, the Magic School Bus, which is supposedly kind of loosely based in reality and made to so when your kids are like, oh, I went to space and blah 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 blah, when they come home they're like, oh, you're watching the Magic School Bus on PBS and you have a vivid imagination, like, you know, denial of plausibility. They do this stuff all the time. So, which, by the way,
yeah
that's a big reason people are always like, they're putting it in our media to program us. Sorta, yeah, that's probably part of it. But plausible deniability is when you put something out there so you can deny it. Like you know what I mean?
yes
Like, it's like
yeah
when
it's exactly
I talk about Angwa, this planet I was on, Angwa. It's literally Dune. It's the same thing. It wasn't called Arrakis. It was called Angwa. But I am convinced that Dune is literally just based on Angwa. Period. Point blank. Period. Like, it's the same thing. They had the sandworms and everything, and it's like, okay, and you talk about that. You just saw Dune, or like anything. Like, you watch too much Star Trek. Like, they have this deniable plausibility
yes
where they're just like, you're just watching too many science fiction movies.
exactly. That's exactly what Jesse was saying as well. Is like part of their programming in the system, and they would let's say have whatever going on, and then they would be reading the same fairy tale at school or the same book at school in
Mm-hmm.
class. So if any of the kids went home and said this happened, and the mother would go, what do you mean? And they'd go, no, it was just her reading the book. She must have a vivid imagination. So I mean, talk about gaslighting. I mean, there's nothing worse, there's no worse type of
They
gaslighting that's
must have
imagined.
not done a terribly great job, because I mean, when I was a kid, I I don't remember everything that happened, but when I told my mom about me being in the programs, and she was the first person I told, and it was more of like, Mom, am I crazy? Right? Like I literally went for a walk with her. I'm like, Mom, we need to go for a walk. This is serious. Like, we need to have a serious conversation. It's like, you remember how I was like abducted by aliens when I was a kid? Da 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 da. And she's like, yeah, I always believed you. I never tried to tell you that you're wrong. Like, and I was just like, I told her, I was like, the military. I was like, think about it. I was like, the talented and gifted program. Remember that? I was like, they turned me into a weapon. They turned me into a piece of military equipment. I was like, time travel, cloning, and instead of my mom being like, um, like, you're crazy, she's like, it actually explains a lot. She said something about how one day I came home, or one day I just was quiet, wasn't the same kid anymore. Like, I just didn't talk, rock back and forth all the time. It just I could just sit in one spot for hours, all by myself. And she said it was like a switch flipped. And she just told me, like, yeah, like, I believe something happened to you. She believes me. So, like, they're not covering it up as well as maybe they could be, because otherwise my mom would have told me I was crazy. There must have been. There's probably. I can only imagine there's stuff that my mom remembers that she doesn't tell me because she doesn't want me to freak out. You know what I mean? Like, I'm pretty sure I altered out and told her all sorts of wild stuff when I was a kid. Like, my alters would come forward and tell her crazy shit, and I don't remember any of it, but she does. Like, stuff like that. So that's how I just feel like my mom has seen things that made her believe me, that she's afraid of even telling me. I don't know. And I guess
Yeah.
what I'm getting at is they're not covering it up anymore. They're not. People are waking up to it. Talented and Gifted is trending on TikTok. Like,
Yeah.
all sorts of people are talking about it, realizing something weird's going on. So, yeah, I just
Right.
feel like they can't. We're very fortunate to live in a time where the resources are there, where when parents are looking into this stuff, I think it's easier now. For my mom at the time, she did not know what to do. I remember the conversation she had with me. She was like, when I grew up, I went to school with a girl who got abducted by aliens, like you, okay? And she's like, she got made fun of. Like, it was, she became a pariah. And they tried to put her in like a mental institution. And she's like, you just don't tell anybody about this stuff. Just keep it to yourself. I don't want them to take you away from me. And that was like her that was while it was happening to me. Like, while this stuff was happening to me. And yeah,
Wow.
that kept me safe. And they were trying to pull me out into they're trying to put me into a mental institution, basically for breaking my mind. Like, they were trying to punish me for breaking me, because they did break me. And like they're like saying, like, like, you're a kid, like, you joke around and you say stupid stuff, right? And I remember, like, some kid was like, my birth name's Jeffrey, the name that I was given when I was born. ARKHEIM RA is my, like, eternal name, my title. Um, but anyway, she out there, like, out some joke about Jeffrey the Giraffe, Toys R Us, Jeffrey the Giraffe. I was like, oh, I'm Jeffrey the Giraffe, and just made a joke like, I'm Jeffrey the Giraffe. And then I get pulled aside. They're like, do you really think you're Jeffrey the Giraffe? Are you crazy? It's like, I'm a little kid making a joke. And they were trying to get me to admit to being abducted by aliens and trying to get me to talk about it. And I wouldn't. And I'm sure if I would have, they would have probably tried to put me on drugs and, put me in a straitjacket and all that crap. But my mom, bless her heart, was like, lie to these people. You can't trust them. They'll try to take you away. They'll try to put you in a mental institution. And also, she saw what my dad went through. My dad has schizophrenia, and you know, unfortunately, had a really bad problem with, like, speed, like various kinds, just whatever he could get his hands on. So there was psychotic delusion there, but that's that deniable plausibility coming into play. Like, my dad was in the programs, he was having crazy stuff happening to him, he was getting memories back, and they do that to many people. Like you'll see it a lot of the times. Like, these people who are in the street yelling, they seem totally mentally unstable, totally gone. People walk right past them and try to not even look at them because they're afraid of them. A lot of these people are in the programs. Like, homeless people make the perfect assets, because people walk right past them every day. They don't care about them. They don't pay them any attention. If they disappear, nobody cares. Like, they're so targeted. And mental health and drug addiction, like, a lot of these people are doing it because they have trauma from the programs. Like, they might not even remember the trauma consciously, but that's why they're drinking, or that's why they're shooting up, or whatever. It's because they're dealing with the trauma. And so that's one thing I want people to really keep in mind when you see, like, mentally ill people on the streets, people who are homeless and on drugs and stuff like that, is a lot of times they're just processing their trauma in the only way they know how. And there isn't any help for them. There isn't any help for the people who are in these programs. There's nowhere, like,
Right.
we are the help. And we're kind of hard to find because we're on
Right.
an obscure corner of the internet. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Absolutely. I fully agree that we are the help. It's interesting what you were saying about the homeless that make the perfect assets, right?
mm-hmm.
Because you kind of walk past them. How many people actually give homeless people a thought, a second thought, right? Here in South Africa,
And
they
if you
do.
sit there and listen to them talking, they're talking to fucking people. Like, they're talking, like, voice to skull. Like, they're having real conversations. And not only that, they know about me. Okay, there are homeless people who know they're in the programs. They know, they remember. And they remember me. Like, because I'm commanding them and shit. Like, I see it, dude. Like, in the streets, like, there's a certain guy, I haven't seen him in a long time because it's gotten cold, but he used to drink beers at the park. This guy fucking knows who I am. Like, he knows who I am. and he's in the programs. And the reason why he's like a homeless guy wandering around drinking beers all the time is because he's in the programs, and his whole world is fucking turned upside down. So he just keeps to himself and just drinks to calm himself down and calm his nerves. But when he sees me, he knows who I am, and like they'll even do weird stuff like send them after me, like send homeless people after me and stuff. There was a homeless guy who was gonna stab me. He was trying to stab me for like a week and a half. I would go to the park, and he would hang out, and I knew he was gonna try to stab me because I had like a voice in my head, be like, "There's like, here's the park. It's a pavilion, and there's like a path, and there's like a guardrail, and like a brick. And a lot of times people will sit on this brick thing. It's not weird for someone to sit there, but this guy was sitting there with a mask on, outside, covered up, not doing anything, not reading a book, just sitting there like menacingly staring. And I got this voice in my head like, hey, like, go around him. He's going to try to stab you. So I did that. And then I ran into him later. And I told my partner, because we were sitting there and he was on the corner. I'm like, that's the guy that wants to, well, I didn't say it at the time. But as we left, I was like, that's the guy who wants to stab me. He's sitting on a screwdriver. He's going to try to stab me with the screwdriver. And so sure enough, later on that day, we see the guy walking with the fucking, he's just walking around with a screwdriver. Like, this guy was gonna fucking stab me. He wanted to fucking stab me. And I just basically, the time I saw him after that, I don't let these people fuck with my life. I was on my bike. I fucking cruised right up to him. Boom! Hopped off my bike. Pulled up my phone. Like, this is a beautiful bike right here. My beautiful bike. And I was filming him, but I was acting like it was the bike. And I was just showing him, motherfucker, I know who you are. I know what you're trying to fucking do. Don't even try, motherfucker. Like, and I haven't seen him since then, but like, they are able to, through voice to skull, tell people things. So that guy, he's innocent. He's some poor, just homeless guy who they probably started saying stuff in his head with voice to skull, like, this guy, he's bad. You need to stab him. Blah, blah, blah. He looked afraid. Like when he had the fucking, he looked afraid. Like, it's actually fucking hurts my heart that, like, what are they doing to this guy where he wants to fucking stab me? He's a normal guy. He's a victim too. He's being victimized. You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely. It's like used as a drone, type of a drone. Yeah.
And I want to say to any of you CIA motherfuckers watching this that monitor me, this guy's a human being. How fucking dare you treat people like fucking animals? You're gonna get what's fucking coming to you, you fucking pieces of shit. You think you're so safe in your technocratic ivory towers. That's the only thing you have. Technology and mind control and illusions and bullshit. What happens when your illusion completely melts? What happens? Like, one of the reasons why they don't want the grid to go down is their whole mind control grid would go down. That could backfire on them big time. Like, there's so many things that these people think they're fucking safe. They think that they have nothing coming to them. Well, I think they're about to find. They're fucking around, and they're at the fucking around part right now, and we're approaching the finding out. That's what we're at, where we're at right now.
Yeah,
they're about to find out, because, like, think about it. Like, all the things you hear Jesse talk about, me talk about. You want to know why they're able to get away with this shit? Because they do it in secret. They do it in private. That's the only thing protecting them. This whole idea that human beings are evil and we're their pawns and we're just like them. No, we're fucking not. No, we're not. Why would they have to? If we're just like them, then just do it out in the open then. If we're just like you. No, they know, especially here in the United States. The average motherfucker driving around his pickup truck, you know, or whatever, American, like the average American guy who's a gun-owning citizen who just is a normal guy, has a normal job or whatever. If these guys found out that there are bases where they're torturing kids, they would all fucking get in the pickup truck, Harley. Fucking come on, we're going. They'd fucking, you know what I mean? They'd go in there. They would swarm these bases and take them out, like, and they would be ready and willing to die to do it. That's the reason why these people are hiding. Is because the average human being, it doesn't take an organized resistance. That's the thing that's what we have on our side. These people, they got to be so organized. They got to plan everything out meticulously. We don't really need that. All we need is the veil to fall down. Because as soon
Right.
as the veil falls down, everybody's going to be in agreement that these people need to die and they need to get off our planet. Nobody's going
Yeah.
to be in disagreement over that. It's one of those things where it's like, we have a lot of division on Earth, right? We don't get along over a lot of things, unfortunately. It's just a fact of life. But if we all found out that they're like satanic lizard people raping and eating our kids, we can unite under that and get rid of them. And that's why they hide
I'd
it.
say
That's why they
exactly.
hide it.
It's exactly why they had it, and I was saying before, so on different shows, it's not just the kids. I mean, it's just not them doing these horrific things with our kids, but they feeding them to all sorts of horrific things, putting them through horrific torture, fear. Yeah, it's on another level, things that we can't even imagine. But I'd like to hear your take, Akim. You say obviously we're aware this is the time of disclosure. This is kind of like the spiritual warfare, right? Um, where these things have been hiding for such a long time, doing atrocious things beneath the surfaces of the earth and everywhere else. So, what is your take? How, where from what you've seen and where you're sitting, how do they exit? What happens that they exit? What do we need to do to get them to exit and leave our planet?
That's a really good question. Military efforts to clear out the bases, which some have already happened and are ongoing, I do believe. But I think I worry about, because there's some people going around saying, oh, day one of the Trump presidency, all the bases got cleared out and stuff like that. I sort of think that's a psyop. I wish that were true, and I hope they're right, but I sort of think that's like a psyop. Like, I don't think things are that good. I think that we have entered like the status quo we had before was really bad. It would have just been a slow burn, and it would have been bad. But the trust that people are putting in I don't want to get political, but I don't have that same trust. I'll just leave it at that. But I do believe that there are efforts within like I think that like the bad guys are so bad. Like there are these really, really evil people. And I feel like, Trump might not be like the best guy in the world. In fact, he's very corrupt in a lot of ways, but I don't think he's like eating babies and stuff. So I think that we might have that in like our artillery right now is the fact that I don't think they're as if I don't think they're as in control as they were before. However,
Exactly.
I don't think it's I also don't think it's time to just like wait for the powers that be to take care of everything, because I mean there's people saying that Trump is a clone now and all sorts of stuff. Who knows what the heck is going on? You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
I
I
think that
agree.
yeah, and I think that we just need to remember it's we the people. It's like literally the moment that this ends is when Jim Bob and Tom and Bobby and the normal guys that go to the tavern and hang out and have a drink at the end of a long work shift, when they find out this stuff is real and they know where it's happening, I'm telling you, like they will literally like in droves, like hundreds of like, you know what I mean? Like we
Sure.
can we can disagree on a lot of different things. Like we're a divided country right now. Let's be real. Like the United States is divided, but when it comes to taking these people out, like once they're actually exposed, not just kind of, because right now a lot of it's hypothetical. It's on the internet. People are hearing about it, frazzle drip, and all these things. But I'm talking when it's really like you can't deny it. It's real. There's physical evidence. There's like pictures and stuff, and they show it on the news or whatever. Oh, they're not. People aren't going to put up with this stuff. People are. The average human
Exactly.
being might have. We might not be perfect. We got problems. Okay, humanity's got a lot of problems. We got to work on a lot of things. But the average human being is not like this evil, parasitic, disgusting creature like these elites are. They're not. The average person believes that in the sanctity of life, that children should be honored and respected and allowed the room to thrive and grow, not to be, you know what I
Right.
mean? Like everybody believes in
Absolutely.
that. And so, yeah, I know I've kind of been a broken record on that, but it is a very real and very hopeful message is that
Yeah.
we can disagree on, people can argue over bathrooms and genders and all this other crap. We can argue over that until the cows come home. Okay. But when it comes to like these children and the fact that they're being and what's going on in these bases and all this stuff, nobody's going to argue over the fact that it's wrong and we need to take these people out. There's going to be zero argument over that.
And the way to do it, in my opinion, is obviously it's us, the people, that have got to wake up. We've been under this illusion for such a long time that our governments take care of us and they've got our best interest at heart.
Yeah, and that's what I want people to I want people
Yeah,
to be reminded of what the Trump presidency is. Elon is the richest man on the planet. Trump is a businessman. He's going to try to make deals. He's going to try to make money and things like that. And that's another fancy way of saying corruption. But again, when it comes to the status quo and that establishment, I do think this is different. And I think that from this moment, we can use this because there's going to be a lot of chaos right now. That's what's happening right
yeah,
now.
for
Is
sure.
there's a lot of kicking and then pushing back and forth, back and forth. But in this moment, like the status quo would have just been a slow burn. There's nothing to react to with the status quo. You know what I mean? But now we have an opportunity to react to things because the energy is like moving more. So I think that that's good. But I just think that people,
Yeah,
like I said, we need to remember, like, we probably shouldn't trust the government no matter who is the president. We probably should be really, really careful about that. That's where I'm at. And yeah, and like, I've heard of people talking about seeing Trump at rituals and things like that, like satanic rituals and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure Alondra Markman said he's seen him at stuff. So again, I don't. The last thing I want to do is give that man a pass, which so many people are doing, and it makes me very sad, to be honest with you. But at the same time, I don't think that the hopefulness that people have is completely unwarranted. I don't. I think
yeah,
there is a chance for like a positive timeline, like a new Earth, like a better future.
yeah,
Like I think
absolutely.
we're approaching that. Like
Yeah. I absolutely think that. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who, and whether it's Trump or Biden or our
which, by the way,
beautiful.
another thing I want to bring up too, like with Biden, that guy was so inept. Like that's such an obvious psyop. Like they made that
Yeah,
guy president for 4 years, and he was so bad that they could have fucking a sack of potatoes could have became president, and we would have been like, thank God.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
exactly,
Like because like the fact that like like he couldn't even do a speech or talk or react to things. So like I just feel like
exactly.
I just see the psyop like push and pull. Like because like yeah like I don't know. I don't want to stay on the subject for too long, but like yeah, he was so inept. And then like I said, you could put pretty much anybody up there, and by comparison, they look amazing because he was so bad.
No, I agree. I mean, and I think that's obvious. I mean, there were so many pictures and things we saw of him, and it was definitely not him with his mask. And the old Joe Biden and the new Joe Biden, I mean, it's so obvious it's not the same person. I have to say the old Joe Biden was much better looking than this,
Yeah, yeah,
whoever
he
this.
was, and uh,
Hmm.
yeah, it's kind of funny because like apparently there's an actor that plays him, and Penny Bradley has posted this picture. Like, apparently, it's just like an actor. Like it's not even like a clone or anything. It's just
Yeah, I heard James Woods or something. That's what I
yeah,
heard.
yeah, yeah. So Penny Bradley, who's somebody you should have on the show. Honestly, if you haven't had her already, she's great. She's
Yeah.
but yeah, yeah, that it's like, and the world's a stage thing. Like I kind of think that's still true, and I think like people have forgotten that. Like I don't know. It's I don't
Yeah.
my memories of everything going on aren't completely clear. So I wish I had more context where I could tell people like factually what is actually going on behind the scenes. Um, but my memory isn't clear enough. But I can just say that I do believe that uh, we have the opportunity to change the timeline and create something more positive. But we shouldn't trust the powers that be blindly. That's very,
Exactly.
very dangerous.
What I'm interested to know as well, I mean, I know you said you spent most of your time on Centurion 5, which is more military based, with a different sort of groups and things.
Yeah, so there's different altars, and I should be clear with that. So Ryan Sterling was aware of what was going on, and he was stationed there. They're first colonizing the planet, he knew what was going on. He had instructions. He knew what was going on. Uh, and There was Howard, or excuse me, Marshall Howard, who, like I said, he got memories back. He was getting bleed through, but he wasn't supposed to, and he was supposed to just be a normal lackey, just helping part of the force building up the planet. But something that I want to bring up that I didn't bring up yet is I was a time cop on the planet. So Ryan Sterling there was a mountain on Centurion, and I lived in the mountain, and there was a landing pad that was cloaked so you couldn't see it. It just looked like mountain. And basically I lived in there, and it was like a fancy hotel inside the mountain, like really fancy. You got checked in, they had to scan your hand and like make sure you're you and stuff. Like it was very fancy, very high class, but also it was kind of like being in a prison because you're being monitored, and you're owned by these people. But basically my job was going around and making sure that history played out the way that it was supposed to on Centurion. So they would send me into situations to change things and make things happen. And
Timeline. So was that the timeline that you did? Timeline to change history and to make things happen the way they wanted it to. So was that when you were then sent on the different timelines to change things there?
No, it was okay. So we were sent back. I was sent back to the beginning of Centurion, and we started colonizing it, which instantly forever changed the history of their planet. They were a xenophobic species, the Aurelians. Their planet disappeared half the time and wasn't even in our reality. And yeah, they just weren't really a target. But because of where they were located and the fact that their planet like disappeared and stuff, they became a target. And the whole point was just to get the planet on track, and for this battle. There was a battle in the future that we needed to win. And once we won the battle, the population was thinned out, and it was turned into a resort getaway for the ultra elite. And the Aurelians were given a lot of their planet back. And the way that they set that up was I actually, it's in my book, Time and Space Unlimited, which is on Amazon. Time and Space by Unlimited by ARKHEIM RA. Check it out, people. But one of the lives that I lived there, which was a time mission, which I did not know was a time mission. It was so I've talked before about how Monarch programming is when they put you into life, make you do something, you're programmed to do it, and you are not even aware of it. You think you're just living a normal life. They did that to me, and I was a chef. And what happened was I was an orphan. So the orphan trains, this is important. You know anybody heard with the orphan trains and
Yeah.
Tartaria and all that? That's
Yep.
just colonization, and that's resetting the population, getting rid of, making the people who are like replacing the population with a new model of human that obeys better, and they've done that several times and stuff, and it all has to do with colonization, cloning, and all that stuff. And I remember the Cabbage Patch Kids and the orphan trains and stuff like that all existed on Centurion 5. And I was an orphan. And basically, I lived on the streets. Um, the food at the orphanage was just garbage. And, I begged for food in the streets and stuff like that. And the people there were not very helpful towards the orphans and stuff like that. And they kind of just spit on us and stuff like that. They didn't really care about us. But there was this restaurant, an Aurelian restaurant, and this was a time where they were a second class species on their own planet. It's like, imagine like segregation in America. Well, they were the segregated. They were like basically like how black people were treated in America, except arguably maybe even worse, because they're a separate species, so that racism was even more intense. You know what I mean? But basically, there was an Aurelian where in the culture, it was kind of slowly shifting towards where you could talk to Alarians and do business with them, and it was still kind of not looked. It was kind of looked down upon, but it was more becoming more accepted. And in that spirit, there was an Aurelian who had a restaurant, and he was trying to. So the humans on Centurion 5 could not afford like normal meals, like normal food. Like they're eating this pay stuff all the time, and they want to eat like real food, and it costs like a whole paycheck to eat at a restaurant. And only the elite class they can afford to eat like real food at restaurants. Well, the Illyrian wanted to make it an option for the workers getting off work to be able to eat somewhere and actually be able to afford it. And he was trying to figure out how to make like Aurelian human fusion food where humans would actually eat it. But their taste buds are different. They don't taste. They taste totally like the way they taste things is totally, and the things they like to eat. They like eating grubs and live bugs and things like that. We don't like that. So like they had to change a lot to make this place work. And When I arrived there, it was as a dirty, smelly orphan who, instead of asking for free food, I said I will do dishes in the kitchen in exchange for a meal, and he liked that. The guy who ran the restaurant, uh and basically, he I would go there about every day to eat a meal and wash dishes for an hour after the lunch rush. And one day I washed the dishes and I was getting ready to go, and he says to me, "Where are you going?" I said, "I'm leaving. Thank you for the food." He said, "If you've watched him prep every day, right?" I was like, "Yeah, I have." He's like, and keep in mind, it's an alien talking to me. And he's like, "Okay, so do we need to give you instructions on how to do prep for dinner? Because I don't want to have to train anybody, or I need somebody, and I don't want to have to train anybody. I don't want to. Can you do this?" And I said yes. And he's like, "All right, you've got a full-time job here now." And he's like, "You can sleep here tonight. You can sleep on the floor in the dining room." I went from being a fucking animal, treated like an animal, to being treated like by a human being. And it was an alien. An alien. Human beings wouldn't treat me like a human. But this alien, I feel bad even calling him that, because he became my father. Like, this Aurelian, like, I'm getting emotional thinking about him. Like, he was my father. He took care of me. He eventually moved me into his home, and I lived with him against his wife's wishes. She did not want me to move in with them, but eventually she warmed up to me and she liked me. And then what ended up happening, and like I said, I think this was a psyop. Like, I literally think this life and this whole thing was a psyop to change the perspective of the Aurelians in preparation to sort of softly give their planet back to them. Um, because like what ended up happening is eventually he retired. The Aurelian did, firstly, it was only the lowest of the low class people coming to our restaurant. People were poor and hungry, and that was good enough for us. They got to eat, and it wasn't some weird chemical paste the government fucking made for them, and we made money. And win-win scenario, capitalism. You know what I mean? Like commerce. But
Wow.
yeah, but basically, it was, like I said, a social taboo until one day these two ladies came in, and there were these really rich ladies who they had a newspaper column, like a column in the newspaper that they wrote. Everybody knew who they were, and they were very eccentric. And because of their eccentricism, it kind of got a free. They were the first upper class people to come into our restaurant and eat there. And I remember it being like them coming into the kitchen and being like, those ladies are here, and we're like, "Oh my god, this is fucking huge." And I remember like we fed them, and they're like, "This is amazing. This food is incredible. I've never had anything like this. Like, oh my god." And so then they did a little article on it in the newspaper, and then next thing you know, there's a fucking line out the door for our restaurant. Everybody wants to eat there, and we have to start charging more money for our food. And then their copycat restaurants start popping up, copying us and stuff like that to cater to the humans. And it was
Wow.
yes, and it was a huge moment in Centurion 5's history, Aurelius' history, where he handed the keys of the restaurant to me. So an Aurelian man raised a human and then gave them his restaurant, which they built together from the ground up from basically nothing, right? This was a hugely inspirational story. I remember newspapers coming from across the planet to interview me. And like the ceremony of him giving me the restaurant, there was cameras and a huge crowd, and like it was huge. And I was like fucking like Gordon Ramsay on this planet after this shit. Like I was like famous. Like there are TV cameras in my restaurant and stuff like that. And yeah, that's like I said, I think that was a psyop like time mission that I was sent into to changed, because the perspective needed to be for the colonization, fuck the All-Aryans. Fuck them. This is our planet. That had to be the mentality in order to do the takeover. But once we won that battle, they wanted to thin out the population, turn it into a resort planet, and kind of quietly let the Auralians have their planet back, sort of. You know what I mean? And so I think that's why they did that, is to set up the political climate to where people wouldn't be like, how dare you? There was like some racist phrase they called them, like, how dare you give them whatever? I can't remember what it was, but like, how dare you give them they're just animals or whatever. It changed the perspective. And the fact that humans wouldn't take care of me and left me rotting in the streets, but this Auralian took care of me, that was like the PR stunt for the Auralians. It was like, how dare we treat them this way? It just changed it to change the paradigm on the planet of Centurion.
That is incredible. Wow, what an incredible story. But I mean, I love hearing that because, again, it just shows, it's about the spirit, right? There's kindness. Kindness is available around every corner, and you can choose to be kind or not, and it doesn't matter. And I just find that interesting because what you're explaining, it's almost like these companies doing hostile takeovers, right? On Earth. So on a corporate level, you're always hearing about these hostile takeovers. And what you're explaining to me now, it's almost like they're doing these hostile takeovers on these breakaway colonies, right? Would you say that's something similar?
There's another thing that I can tell you about. I did a whole show on it with Jessica Jones, the cryptid huntress, on the planet Angwa, and that planet is being colonized by Israel right now. Israeli Defense Force is colonizing their planet. They're doing the same exact things that they did to the Gazans, just carpet bombing them. They're poisoning their food. They're flying over because it's like a desert planet. They're like basically shooting. They're shooting whole, like breaking the glass roofs of the greenhouses and then spraying them with chemicals that not only kill the food but ruin the soil so it's unusable. Basically, Israel is carrying out, Netanyahu is carrying out a genocide on a planet called Angwa right now.
Why? What's happening? What is on Agua that he wants?
I don't know. Probably just something strategic military importance. I'm not sure. I asked.
What kind of beings inhabit Agua?
There's humans that live there for long, really like thousands of years. A humanoid species that lives there that's a lot like us. And then that I was a part of. I think the Black Cube sent me there. Because basically how I got this was I woke up one morning and an altar took me over and was talking in a language that I can't understand. That's not real. It's not on Earth. But I could start understanding him. And it was crazy. It was crazy because this apparently is an altar of mine. His name is Arid or something. I had it written down somewhere, but Jaron. His name is Jaron. Jarron. Jaron, maybe even, I think it would have been Jaron. But anyway, he was standing and it was so crazy because like I've had altars take me over before, but this was the first time where the altar was physically occupying a body on another planet, and I was connected with them by a thread. So it was like I was on Angwa and I was here at the same time. It was like I was bilocated, and I could feel the air. I could smell I could see the hut he was in. I could see what he was wearing. They wear like these, like a brown, like cloak type thing and like really baggy clothing, and they wear like a black mask over their face. Like they're wearing masks on this planet. Their face is it's so hot and stuff. They have to dress this way. And he was just like talking to me, and he's like he was crying. I literally was in tears. He's like he's like we've had thousands of years of peace on planet Angwa. Relative peace. There's been skirmishes, but relative peace. And out of nowhere, Netanyahu just comes from the fucking sky, and it just a black swarm, and just starts taking everything by force, just blitzkrieg, just bombing everybody, poisoning their food, poisoning the water so they can't drink it, So like they're poisoning the water supply of the planet, and they're just like, oh, we'll just bring in water from asteroids. Like they're fucking up the planet, like destroying it. And he wanted me know. He's like, Angua is my planet's name. He's like, I know Angua. Like I talk to Angua. Like we're all connected to Angua. Like our religion is Angua. Like we all like. He explained to me that the worms, the ants, the centipedes, like all the different species on the planet all had the same religion. Like the humans had the same religion as the centipedes and they worshiped Angua. They were, and water is like a huge part of all the religions, like because it's more sparse on, it's a desert planet, so like a water is a huge part of the
Yeah.
religion. But like it's just so much like Dune. It was so much like Dune. But like yeah, so I just that monster Netanyahu was pulling the same shit out in the breakaways. That guy's a fucking monster. Like seriously, like he told me he showed me his face. He's like, Netanyahu, do you know this man? I'm like, yes. He's like, we know him too. I know him all the way out here. He's literally like to him, he's like Satan himself incarnate, like the most evil man you could possibly ever encounter. And yeah, he also told me on a positive note, he's like, I know who you are on Angua. He's like, people know who you are throughout the galaxy. He's like, you're making way more of an impact than you think you are. And what he told me, he said, we're reaching a precipice. He said, we're reaching a point where timelines are merging, and we're either going to go towards a sour timeline or a positive timeline. He's like, this isn't an option, motherfucker. Like, sorry for swearing, but he's like, this is not an option. He's like, you do not understand the amount of people that are going to suffer, the amount of lives that will be lost, and the sheer like gravity of how he's like, it's not an option. You have to bring us to the higher timeline. We cannot be like, you need to speak up about Angua. You need to speak up about this stuff. Like he was very adamant about it, and he was very adamant with the fact that what we're doing here right now, all of us, you, me, like people who are doing disclosure, he was very adamant about the fact that it's way, way more important than like we already think it's important, right? Like it's obviously important to us.
Yeah.
But he's like, it's even more important than you're currently comprehending. Like you're making way more of an impact than you think you are. He's like, I wouldn't be reaching out to you from another planet throughout time and space through telepathy if I didn't think it, if I thought it didn't matter. Like he's like, it matters. You matter. And it was just crazy. It was just crazy. I don't even know if he's still alive. He was literally like fighting a war against the IDF on the surface of Angua. And I asked him where it was. He said, where is Angua? He said, our sun is he said they're in the Milky Way. I think he said they're in the Milky Way. I don't know. He actually never said that. He didn't say where it was. He said our sun is the reddest star in the sky. And he said that the sun is like red there. That's what he told me. When I asked him where it was, he couldn't really tell me, but he said our sun is the reddest star in the sky.
Wow.
That's a real place, you guys. I promise you. Angua is a real place.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah,
it's actually happening right now. I know you believe me, but like just reiterating it. Like this is an actual planet out there being carpet bombed by the IDF and just being taken over with brutal force. Why do you think they don't want you to know about the breakaways? Like if we knew about the breakaways, Black Terror on Mars during the 80s when they were just blitzkrieging Mars, people would have protested in the streets on Earth. People would have stopped going to work. Like there's a reason why they don't want us to know about this stuff going on, because it's all connected. We have the power to stand up for these people here, but they take it away from us by it's all in darkness. But like that's why they keep it. Yes,
absolutely. And I agree with you what you're saying about what we I've also definitely had that message over and over again. Those of us who are disclosing and whistleblowing, and not necessarily, you don't have to be a survivor or a whistleblower, just the whole entire movement of what we're doing here is so important. And that's why we have so many infiltrators as well, because you're going to get those that it's like the 80-20. They'll give you 80% right information, 20% false information.
And unfortunately, a big thing happening right now in this community is well-meaning, awesome people who want the best for disclosure, and they're just, the information is being clouded and they're being psyoped and controlled and manipulated, and it's not even their own fault. This is happening to people who are great people, who are wonderful people. Like, for instance, a lot of these channelers who are channeling stuff, they're just channeling V2K CIA propaganda. Literally. Elon
So, you know, when you
Elon
say,
Musk
okay,
is Elon Musk is gonna take us to the fucking stars. We're already in the stars. Like some of these messages that are out
okay,
there.
can you talk about some of these channelers? I don't know if you can mention names and the things
I
they're
don't want to
saying.
mention names because I respect even the people who are wrong. Some of them I really respect. So
Yeah.
I don't want to, but I'll say the narratives. The narrative that Elon Musk is going to bring us to the stars and he's going to save humanity and he cares about humanity so much. I've literally watched this man feast on human flesh, and so has Jesse. Like, he's not what people think he is at all. He's a billionaire. Like, I don't understand how this movement has gotten so co-opted that people would literally look up to Elon Musk. And like the message, I don't even understand it. Like I said, I'm not naming names, but a certain individual, and it's being parroted by many, put out the message that he's going to bring us to the stars and he's going to do all this stuff for humanity. It's like, yo, we're already out there. I don't understand how that even gets on a disclosure channel. Like, you've got countless people talking about being on Mars, being on other planets, how we've already colonized, like we've got the moon of Titan and all this stuff. We got like this whole solar system and galaxy as human life scattered through it all over the place. So the whole idea that he's going to bring us to the stars is absolutely ludicrous and ridiculous. And just, yeah, really just honestly, like this whole, there's just a real big divide and conquer narrative going on right now. And then and this is the sad part is like a lot of times, like the people on the left are like right about stuff and sometimes they're wrong about stuff. And it's the same thing with the right wing. It's like sometimes they totally on the money and they're 100% right, and sometimes they're wrong. And what it is it's red. I've talked about this before. Red, blue, red, blue, red, blue, back and forth. What's on a siren on a police car or an ambulance? Emergency, emergency, emergency. They create chaos with sigil magic. Red, blue, red, blue, red, blue, red, blue, red, blue. That's why I don't trust this Trump thing like everybody else. I'm not trying to just shit on it and be like, don't have any hope. We're not going to enter a positive timeline. It's all doom and gloom. But like I see, like I said, Joe Biden was so inept. It was obviously on purpose. And now you got a guy who actually knows how to complete a sentence and can respond to questions without an earpiece like telling him how to respond to it. You could tell he was being like Joe. He was like he had an earpiece, like you know what I mean. You could tell he had like listen to say it. You know what I mean? Like, so it's just like yeah, I can see why people are optimistic, and I don't want to rain on their parade, but at the same time, like people do need to understand the mind control. It's just binary programming, 0 1
But
0.
isn't that interesting though? If we're looking at the red, blue, you're looking at the whole movie, The Matrix, red pole, blue pole. Which pole do you take, right?
Yeah,
Isn't
yeah.
that all? I mean, I'm just like doo-doom, you know.
Yeah,
So it's
I
like,
didn't even think about that. I didn't even think about that. That is really interesting. And yeah, it's really like the binary programming. It's like because like computers, right? This computer that we're talking on right now, it is binary programming 0 1 1 0 0 0 1 1. Well, quantum computers can use an alphabet, a draconian alphabet, or we count things by tens, they count things by eights, or they count things by 12s. So we just the math we use is just really simple, like really dumbed down. I've heard that even they made us have less fingers because it has something to do with the ability to count and math. And I don't know if that's true, but I've heard like people talk about that, and it could be true. I wouldn't be surprised. But basically, like it's binary programming, like the chessboard, black and white tile, and then in the Masonic halls, it's black and white tile, and it's showing you the binary programming, and it's oversimple, and that's what's going on right now. Is so many situations people look at them black and white, they're not seeing the nuance. Like in a lot of these situations, you got the right wing guy over here saying their narrative and the left wing person over here saying their narrative, and they're kind of both wrong but kind of both right. Because of the binary programming, though, people are unable to see that and meet in the middle, and that's designed. They're doing that on purpose because divide and conquer, that's the best way to do things for them.
right. Wow, it makes that's true. It's. I mean, I don't even have the words right now, but it's all coming together, and it's making a lot of sense to me. It's like what they're doing on these breakaway colonies is pretty much what they're doing here, right? If you're looking at, I mean, what you were saying, spraying, was it the Anguans?
Yeah, Angua.
Right?
Yeah, the Anguans. Yeah.
Penguins, yeah.
poisoning their
With,
food, poisoning their water.
that's what they're doing
One thing
here.
he did
That's what
say
they're
though,
doing here with the
one
chemtrails.
thing he did say though, because he knew of my existence, and he was like, "You think you got to like it's just to be fair to him, out of love for my heart to him, it's so much worse there. It's so much worse. It's literally just a straight up genocide. Like they're just killing everything and everyone, and we have it much better here on Earth actually." I don't know if I can say the same thing for the people of Gaza and stuff like that. Obviously, people in war torn regions would probably disagree with me, but just like the fact that we have a safe place to stay, food in the fridge, clean water to drink, like that is privilege compared to what the Angwans are facing right now.
And
Like
from what you're
so,
saying, you're actually allowed to own property, yeah? Right? I mean, are you saying they can't? It's more like communism there by the sounds of things.
well, Angwa is not where you're. I think you're confusing Centurion with Angwa.
Yes, Centurion.
Uh,
Sorry,
yeah, Angwa's
Centurion.
actually like super primitive. They didn't really have much technology there. They did have technology, but it was really simple and only really what they needed. But Centurion, I would describe it as hyper capitalism. Actually, I would not describe it as socialism or communism at all. Like it was a ruling class that ruled over everybody with brutal force. Everybody had to work. And the whole idea was you could climb your way up through the ranks if you just worked hard enough. But that's a fucking lie. And I don't know. I feel like it was more like hyper capitalism. Like the idea of the World Economic Forum,
Okay.
they want capitalism 2.0. Like they're like, okay, we have to figure out a way to like, and that's like renting things to people, like intellectual property, like all this stuff. So like, I think that it's actually sort of like a hyper form of capitalism, and I do believe that the aversion towards socialism, and I know a lot of people might not like this, but I think that might be programming because honestly, if you look at any planet where people are living in peace, and like that's part of the reason why they don't want us to see the breakaways, is because there are colonies out there, ET and human and otherwise, where they're living under forms of government that we are told can't exist and would never work. Like because every single time we try to do something like that here, it gets infiltrated and taken over and corrupted. But there have been planets, human and otherwise, human colonies even, where they've figured out a system where people are actually treated equally, things are fair, and there isn't like a hierarchy, like a super uber hierarchy ruling class that rules over everybody. So yeah, like I just think that like yeah, like obviously like and then there's of course like the horseshoe theory. I don't know if you know about that. Like if you go too far right and if you go too far left, you end up in the same place. It's called
Yeah,
horseshoe theory. I think there might be some truth to that. It's all about
yeah,
balance.
yeah. I agree. Wow. Wow, how interesting. I mean, this is amazing. I mean, I was gonna say there has to be as many. I mean, we have a lot of malevolent planets, it seems, right? But they've got to be benevolent ones as well,
There
right?
are, there are, and there are, and
Yeah,
there are, and there are many ET colonies out there that are positive and beautiful, and they've existed for thousands of years, and they're inspiring. And if every human on Earth could just like I don't know visit like the capital of the Pleiades colonies or something like that for just a
I
day,
was about to
right?
ask you about the
Yeah,
Eddies.
like they'd be like, wow, people can live like this. What the hell are we doing? You know what I mean? No one would. It takes a great deal of manipulation and mind control and like just resources and just to make us live this way. Like it's actually way easier to just live in peace and live in harmony. It's like this is what takes like mental gymnastics and like a great deal of effort. It's actually hard. It living in peace and living amongst each other is easy. Like that's the programming. The programming is thinking because what we have right now is everybody knows the current system is rigged. It's
Yes.
wrong. It doesn't work. It's broken. But what we're at right now is okay. What? How do we imagine a new system that does work? How do you? And then we looked at we've tried socialism, communism, and I'm not a historian like an earth historian, but from what I can see and from most people can see, it's not worked. It's backfired. had problems. Like, so there's no model to look at where we're like, that's how we'll do it. Like, it's like, I think we have to come up with something kind of totally new. And I feel like that's part of the problem that people have. And it's just like, well, it's either this, or these things that already existed. It's like, wait, so, you know, you realize communism was invented before, like, we even had the internet. Like, so, like, maybe it's outdated, right? Like, maybe all of these systems are outdated and we need to figure out something new that sort of uses the tenets of. And I just think that, like, no matter what system, like, I think the most important thing that needs to be brought forward with the new system is trying to avoid hierarchy when possible and trying to make sure that people are treated like humans, like treated like with dignity.
Absolutely.
I think that's way easier than people like I said. I think it's actually like we're brainwashed into thinking that's hard. I feel like that actually wouldn't be that hard.
Absolutely. It's our natural way of being, because, you know, when we look at what true power really is, it's not how big or strong or muscly you are, right? And or how fast you can pull your gun. I don't know. It's really a true power is coming from the richness of spirit, which is kindness, it's compassion, it's faith, it's all of these things. Because when we really, and that's, you know, that's the glory of God, or whatever, what people call it, the heaven lives within you, right? God, we are created in the image of God, and we have to realize that. And when we do, we tap into these incredible, the qualities of spirit, which is the essence of spirit, which is compassion, empathy. And there's a big difference between empathy and sympathy, right? You don't want to be sympathetic, you want to be empathetic. And, you know, this is where when we start understanding language and the energy, and this is, I can see where spellcasting comes in as well. You know, even with words as subtle as empathetic and sympathetic, they have a very similar meaning, but their frequency is very different. They mean something actually very different. So it's about understanding how we use our words, how we use our language, and how we actually allow that to come forth, because that is truly your voice. Someone's voice can be the biggest weapon of mass resurrection or mass destruction, right? I'm a firm believer in that.
Yes. And I really do believe that, like, it sounds silly, but like creating this better world and this paradigm, a lot of it just starts with like taking care of yourself. Like, seriously, like just eat better food, exercise, like just try to be happy. Like that, like with the world the way it is, there's planes exploding and like people are afraid to travel, which is a psyop. They're manufacturing, they're doing that on purpose. With all that kind of stuff going on, where they're trying to scare people, it's really important to not feed into it, and to try to find a place of bliss. That's what they want us to be freaked out. So if we can just do what we can in our everyday lives to just be happy and just enjoy ourselves, like, it actually is, we it's a form of resistance in a way. We do need to like actually resist. Like, I don't want to be like toxic positivity. Like, all you got to do is do yoga and eat kale and the world peace will happen.
No, we don't that.
But
yoga is good.
But it is, yeah, it is good to take care of your body, to take care of yourself. And honestly, you got to start there. You can't like take care of the earth and start a revolution, all these things, if you're not even taking care of yourself. So that's a really great place for us to all start. And make sure you poop. No, it's in the comments. Someone said make sure you poop.
That's good. Only be Jessica.
Whatever what comes in must be released. So yes, this is important.
Must be healthy in every way. I agree. No, I totally agree with that. Wow. Sure. I want to just see if there's anything that's come up in the comments. I haven't been watching the comments much late. I'm just busy chatting to you. But yeah. So it seems like also what you're saying is that everything that's happening outside of the earthly realm. Okay, hang on. Let me rephrase that. Whatever's happening here on Earth is actually happening in the colonies or planets, whatever, around us too. So they're spraying other planets with all sorts of chemical warfare, stuff like that. It's what they're doing here. So it's like they seem to be repeating there, but here as well. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, like the situation with Angwa in Palestine, it's the same thing, except Palestine is a small strip of land in the Middle East, and Angwa is a planet. It's the same thing.
Right.
So yeah, I would say that's true. They just use a lot of the same methods and stuff like that, and let's look at how the Europeans brutally colonized the Americas and stuff like that. We're doing that in space, and right now with like Mars, like we got kicked off of Mars. That's current history right now. We're getting kicked off of Mars. The Mars Germans are now going to Titan. We got kicked off of Mars, and it's because we tried to colonize it. We tried to colonize it. We tried to take it over with brutal force, and it didn't work. And I remember being brought to a ship that had captured one of the fly queens. So there's flies. These flies that fly around, and they're sentient flies. And I remember telepathically, I was trying to find their nest, because we're gonna bomb it. It's disgusting. On Mars, we said, what do we say? There's something about bugs. It was when it comes to bugs, it's either squash or be squashed. That's what we would say on Mars. When it comes to bugs, it's either squash or be squashed. So we were very much so just kill them all. Kill them all. It is disgusting. And I remember the queen telling me telepathically when I went to her mind, she's like, "You're not going to win this planet." She's like, "You don't understand. This is an unhospitable planet. It is hard to live here." She's like, "You are not. We've been here thousands of years. You're not going to fucking win this war. You're going to lose." And she told me, "When you see us coming, there will be nowhere to run. We will cover the entire sky. The sky will turn black." That's what she said, because we knew we hadn't seen them for a while, and we knew that they were hiding, and that's what they're doing. They were breeding, and they're getting ready for an attack. And sure enough, she was right. She was right. She had some sort of thing where, like, I was trying to go in her mind and find the nest, and I don't think I could find it. I think she, like, killed herself before I could get the information. And we got kicked off Mars. She was right. She was right. And another thing I remember too that was really sad is I remember an ant getting on top of me, and it had its things around. It had its hands like around. It was like, and I remember it was like he was just so confused. He's just like, "Why are you doing this? We've been here for thousands of years. Like, why don't you? Why do you have to leave where you come from to kill us all and live here? You're like,
Wow.
why?" Like, it was so confused in the sadness. This, you psychotic fucking monkey. What is fucking wrong with you? Like, you shouldn't even be here. Why? This planet is like a hell to you people. Why do you even want to live here? Because it was. It kind of was. I mean, there's people like John Whitberg, like, he considers Mars his home. Like, there's things about it that people love it, even though it's an inhospitable wasteland. But like,
Wow.
yeah. But yeah, the good news is we and stuff like that was genocide. Yeah, we so yeah, but I consider that good news. I consider it good news that the native Martians are getting their planet back.
That's actually incredible because, we're hearing about Mars and Elon. And I mean, I was watching a podcast not too long ago, where he's.
Can I take an opportunity to do something? I want to
Yeah.
formally apologize to the natives of Mars. I want to apologize to the ant people. This is seriously like nothing. Like, I need to do this on like a stage in front of thousands of people. Like, this does not count, but this is the first time, and hopefully of many, that I'm going to make this apology. I apologize for what I did on Mars. I apologize for being part of the Black Terror. I apologize for fighting against the ants and mantid people. I am sorry for what I did. I am sorry. I am so sorry. I am so sorry. I cannot express it with words. You deserved the right to have peace, to have your planet. We had no right being there. We had no right coming in. We were the monsters. We were the bad guys. I am ashamed. I am ashamed of what I was a part of. and I just want to apologize. I want to apologize. I don't think there's a single ant person watching this, but just for the universe, I just want to put it out there that I am so sorry for what I participated in. It was genocide. It was crimes on the highest level. Whoever ordered this stuff to be happened, whoever allowed this to occur, they deserve to rot in prison for the rest of their lives. It's unacceptable, and yeah, I just wanted to say that.
So tell us about the ant people. What do they look like? What are they like? How big are they?
They're about the size of this kitchen. It'd be hard for one to fit in this kitchen. They're big. Yeah, it'd be hard for one to fit in this kitchen. They're that big. Like the size of like 8 cows put together. I don't know what my metric would be. They're big. And they're here on Earth. They exist on Earth too. Mars and the Hopi are connected to the ant people. They know about the ant people. Their elders still meet with the ant people. The elder of the Hopi tribe, like, meets with the ant people like annually or every 4 years or something like that. Like physically, like, and they're here on Earth as well. And like Earth and Mars are like sister planets, and that's something that's been stolen from us. Like we don't know that. Like we're kind of always been sister planets, and only until recently has this divide occurred. And they're peaceful. They have kind of like a hive mind, which probably helps with the peacefulness. That because of that, there's not really skirmishes among them. They have a hive mind. They have like a queen, like the ants did. They work in tandem with the spiders. The spiders are sort of like their pets. They defend They live in like caves, and like when you first start going into the caves, you'll run into the spiders.
Spiders are ant pets. No, okay, I have to hear about this. How does that come to be? How does a spider get to be an ant person's pet?
Symbiosis, symbiotic relationship between species. What is that called? Symbiotic relationship. Definition. Mutualism. Yeah. So basically, they're mutualism. So, shrimp and goby fish live together in a burrow. The fish warns the shrimp of danger. So, in this situation, the ants are the fish, and the shrimp are the ants. The fish are the spiders, and the shrimp are the ants. So they are the guardians of the caves that they live in. They warn them of danger. And also, my alter Edward has had a pet spider. If you are telepathic, humans can also have them as pets. You need to be telepathic. They bond with their owner telepathically. And it's crazy. Like there's hash on Mars. This is funny. There's hash, like weed hash, like cannabis hash.
Hashish?
Yeah, they grow it in like underground hydroponic, and Edward was telling Kat, my partner, that there's hash spiders, and basically they'll fucking put a backpack full of a giant brick of hash on the back of a spider, and its owner will telepathically say, all right, go to the city of whatever and bring it to this place. And because of that, like when they get stopped by police or whatever in the desert, it's a spider. It doesn't have an ID. It doesn't have there's no way to trace where the hash came. What are you going to do? Throw the spider? And it's like pretty much like the equivalent of like a very intelligent dog. What are you going to do? Throw it in prison? So like they use the spiders for drug smuggling, for smuggling drugs and smuggling hash. And like my alter Edward, yeah, isn't that crazy? My alter Edward actually had a pet spider. My alter Edward had a pet spider named Harry, and he would ride him like a horse. Like he'd ride him around. For real.
How big is a spider?
Isn't that wild? They're big. They're like really big. Like the ants are bigger. They're about like 1/3 of the size of the ants, but they're like the size of like a horse, like maybe a little bigger. You can ride them. But of course, like I said, you have to be telepathic. They're not like an animal you can like snap your finger at.
I want a pet spider. Can I have one? Where do I find one?
Mars, and it's hard to get one because you
got a contact for me.
Yeah, it's hard. I forget. I know that Edward had the spider since it was a baby. Yeah,
Wow.
they're about the size of like two horses, I would say, and their legs are really long too. So that kind of adds like because their bodies are actually fairly small, but their legs are really long.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is fascinating. I mean, I think that is so fascinating. I definitely want to see that. Can you send me a little chip of what's in your mind so I can just
I did
get a
make an
visual of that,
AI
please?
picture of like a guy riding a spider. It's pretty easy. Just type in "man riding a giant spider" into one of these AI apps, and it'll show you it. But yeah, it's totally real, and the spiders are out there. David Bowie, Spiders on Mars. He was talking about that stuff. David Bowie's in the programs. By the way, too, another aspect we can go in
David
this.
Bowie.
David
Well,
Bowie. The next time I come on the
this,
show, we could talk about the music industry because I'm heavily connected to
oh,
that.
definitely. I was going to ask you about the planets in the music industry. Where do those guys come from? They must be like on another level, right?
There's a book coming out about Elvis, about how he's actually from the moon of Jupiter, and he was basically clairvoyant, and he was psychic, and he was a Montauk time soldier. Elvis. So was John Lennon. So was Kurt Cobain. So was Tupac Shakur. So was I could go on and on about all these famous people who were Montauk time soldiers. Dorothy from Wizard of Oz. That's Preston Nichols' daughter, biological daughter. There's also some famous singer who's one of Preston Nichols' son who looked just like him. He looked just like Preston. Um, but yeah, like Centurion 5 had a recording studio on it. I actually there's this cult called Ordo Templum Nephilim, which is connected to Max Martin and Dennis Pop. Okay, and it's like this weird like Midsummer. Like if you've ever seen that movie Midsummer, like it's about this weird Swedish cult. They're like that in real life, except they have access to time travel portals and stuff. And basically, uh, In Sync, I've written some of their songs. Britney Spears, I've written some of their songs. My Heart Will Go On, that's my song. The Weeknd, uh, um, Save Your Tears for Another Day, Blinded by the Lights, Break Everything into Pieces. Their song Forever Alone sounds just like Blinding. It's people after the show. Listen to Blinding Lights by The Weeknd and listen to Forever Alone by Break Everything into Pieces, Smash Everything into Pieces. It sounds like it was made by the same person because it was. It was made by me. And not only that, the music video for Forever Alone, Break Everything into, or Smash Everything into Pieces by them is literally footage of a breakaway planet. It's literally like bird's eye. You're like you see the ships, they're hovering over people. It's literally just footage of a breakaway planet. And that song and other timelines was given to Chester Bennington. Chester Bennington is also in the programs. Um, who else? It's the music aspect. I mean, we could do a whole show on that. I was part of this cult. I would wake up and they would sacrifice me. So what they would do is I would wake up in a cloning tube. This guy would bring me to Chiron Studios in Stockholm. I would work on music with them. I would sing. They would come up with the melodies for the song, and then they called me the boy who sings, the boy who sings, and they would they would basically get me to work on the song, and then during the recording of the song, they would sacrifice and kill me. While this red hit light, they called it the hit light, which you can find footage of him talking about the red. It's a red light that would turn on the studio, and be like, "Oh, it's a hit! It's a hit!" That's them gathering the Lush energy. It's a ritual, and so I would wake up. They would kill me, and I would wake up in this tube again. I wouldn't remember anything, and I remember Britney Spears, and Britney Spears. I'd see her, and she'd be like, "Hey, how's it going, Barry Brand?" She like knew my name and stuff. I'm like, "I don't remember you. Who are you?" And she at first thought I was messing with her, like I was joking, and then eventually she realized, no, I literally don't remember. Every time, don't remember her. And it got worse and worse for her. But yeah, obviously, we're towards the end, so I can't really go much more on this. But if you'd like, we could do a whole show on the music industry and how it's used to control the population, how it's used to launder money, sex trafficking. There's doing sex trafficking. It's been said that Michael Jackson's dad made more money off of pimping him out than the actual music. So like, there's so much darkness when it comes to the
Yeah.
music industry, and it has everything to do with the fact that these people have no fucking creativity, and all they can do is steal it from other people, and it's just a time travel operation where they've just done that on a whole nother level. There's songs from alternate realities, like for instance, like Dream On by Aerosmith is actually by a band from Detroit, Michigan, in an alternate reality called Jet Blue. and the company JetBlue, the airline company, doesn't exist in that reality. And the guy who founded JetBlue is from Detroit. Okay, like it's not a coincidence. Like they these people have little symbols for each other that they show each other what they know about the other reality. The reason why the Nickelodeon trophy is a Zeppelin is because in the alternate reality where a lot of these stars come from, like Amanda Bynes, for instance, in the alternate reality in the 1920s, she was part of the vaudeville era of comedy. She was one of the most famous women on the planet Earth. There's like statues of her in New Orleans and stuff like that. Super famous. And they kidnapped her, brought her to this reality to use her for Nickelodeon. Against, she doesn't know, like MK Ultra out. And the Zeppelin, when they give that award, they're showing people, yes, we do know Amanda is from that reality. Yes, we kidnapped her from there.
Wow.
Yeah,
This
it's
is
crazy.
fascinating. It is so fascinating that this is
Nickelodeon means theater. Nickelodeon just means, she said, someone in the comments says it means something in another language. It just means theater. It just means cinema. And in the alternate reality, they're called Nickelodeons still to this
yeah.
day. When you go to a movie, you're like, let's go to the Nickelodeon. In the Zeppelin reality, they're still called Nickelodeons. That's the whole reason why they call the channel Nickelodeon. It's all, and they're Satanists. They're Satanists. Brian Peck was pen pals with John Wayne Gacy and literally had a signed painting of John Wayne Gacy in one of his rooms in his house. They are connected to Satanism. It's satanic. They're part of the cult. They're part of the CIA run satanic racket going on.
Wow. We think that some of the musos have sold out, others haven't. You know, we talk about them having sold their souls and stuff, blah, blah, blah. But from what you're telling me, have they really? I mean, it's just who they are, right? They didn't have to sell their souls. That's the point I'm making. I think that soul was gone a long time ago with a
Well,
lot of them.
I can actually explain something to you here. So what we would do at Montauk is we would go back in time. We would send somebody in there, and they would walk in through a portal into a person's room, like let's say Kurt Cobain or whatever. And we basically say, I've actually been the person to do it before. John Whitberg's been the person to do it. It wasn't always the same person. Basically say, okay, we'd have a briefcase. We'd open it up. It'd have a song, like a speaker thing that would play the song on one side, and then the sheet music and stuff like that on the other side. And I basically say, I'm the devil. I'm Satan. Yeah, Clone Centers, that could be. And I used to think it was dreaming too. Sorry, I have ADD. What was I just talking about?
What were we talking about? That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, what was I just saying?
I was getting lost in the question. Yeah, sorry guys. What was ARKHEIM saying? Anyone in the chat? Gosh, sorry, I lost that. I've gone blank there as well. That's crazy.
Yeah. Mickey 17. Yeah, I'm supposed to. I've been hearing about that. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, we could do a whole show on the music industry.
That was so crazy. I feel like I've just been blanked out. The music, Kurt Cobain.
Oh yeah. No, okay, now I remember. Okay, so we go in there through a portal. So you say you're the devil. Hey, you want to sell your soul to me? I'll give you fame, fortune, all the sex you could ever want with all the beautiful women you could ever want. You basically live like a king, right? And all I got to do is sign this piece of paper. And whoa, what does that mean? It means I own your soul now. And they think, oh, well, okay. And they don't understand. That means I'm going to put you in clone bodies over and over again and use you for eternity. They don't understand that. And this is an example of consent, the line being blurred, and them kind of cheating. It's cheating, in my opinion. Like, because when someone signs a contract, they need to come from an informed place where they understand what they're agreeing with, and they need to come from a place of abundance. If you're not coming from a place of abundance, I don't think it's fair, because you're being taken advantage of. So yeah, I don't know, but yeah, it's That's that. So the whole story of selling your soul, like meeting the devil at the crossroads and selling your soul to them, that has to do with the time projects. Um,
Yes.
the devil isn't the devil walking through a portal. It's just a person with advanced technology and an MP3
Right.
player. You know?
Right. Exactly. And it's just one big lie, really, isn't it? It's just one big fat deception.
Yeah. And they've given my music to a lot of these people. They've made a lot of money off of it. I don't know how or why I agreed to it, but I know to an extent I did agree to it. It's a
Mm.
whole long story, but like I think they tricked me. I don't know, but it's funny because like I don't have any money in this life really. I'm not famous. Like I don't. It's what I can't understand what they even gave me. What did I get out of them taking my songs? It doesn't make any sense. I don't know why I would have agreed to that. But I remember like I don't know. We'll have to save it for another show.
Oh, we're gonna do that. Yeah. I mean, I think there's lots of information for lots more shows on this topic. That's for sure. Oh, Kim, thank you. What a show! What a bunch of information! I definitely have to go and watch this again. For sure, so much information. I mean, I love the ant people that have got pet spiders. That has to be the cutest thing I've ever seen. And the pet spiders become their ganja runners. Ganja.
Yeah.
Do you guys call it ganja there? Over here we call it
Uh,
ganja.
I just call it weed, I guess, but ganja's a perfectly fine name for it. But yeah, it's kind of funny to me. There's actually like hash on Mars. Like there's people smoking weed on Mars. Like that's kind of crazy to think about, isn't it? And it's
Where's
in the
yours
breakaway.
from,
It's in the breakaway.
Janine?
Get this. Also, I was working. I don't think this is a coincidence, you guys. Here in Portland, I was working at a cannabis production facility where I was like bucking buds, like giant plants, like just containers full of fucking nugs and stuff. And I was thinking, like, we produce so much weed at this place. There's no way. This is just the state of Oregon. Like, who's smoking all this? I remember thinking that one day. And that day, the owner of this company comes in with these weird German guys. And she's like, "Oh, this is my family from Germany." And dude, it was fucking breakaway Germans making a deal with them to get weed. Like it's traded in space. I swear to God, I know it. I know it. Like it was literally breakaway German. Like I am convinced that it was breakaway Germans like making a deal with them to get cannabis in the breakaway colonies. Like because like I was literally thinking that day, like we produce so much fucking cannabis. And there's like a million of these places, right? Because it's just one company. Yo, I'm like, where's all this weed going? It's going into space, dude. I'm not even kidding. Earth is known for having the most high quality marijuana cannabis that you can fucking get. We are known for that. We have perfected it to a science. And so,
Well, then I have to say, yeah, where I live, by the way, they have what they call a cannabis cup, like once a year, where they have, and it's now, I mean, it's kind of legal, but to a point, blah blah blah. You're not allowed to sell it basically unless you're doing it for medical, blah blah, you know.
yeah.
But every year they would have all the best growers, but like from across the world coming here in this area with a cannabis cup. And the growers in this area used to win time and time again. So that's just, yeah, everyone. And we have the Malawians, yeah, by the way, and the Malawians grow the best ganja in Africa. So that's actually a very interesting topic.
I
But,
also
and
remember there being weed on Centurion, and I'll tell you just like kind of funny. Like, I told you there's districts and everything was monitored. The guy who
yeah,
sold me weed he's a flower salesman. He sold like bouquets. And it was like the idea of the guy, like you're out drinking and he's got the bouquet and he sells you a bouquet and he gives you, there's that kind of guy. But he had like a flower delivery service, and he had these gold roses, yellow roses, right? And he had two kinds, but he didn't talk about it. One, they're just regular yellow ones, and there weren't anything special of them. And then the other kind, it was actually coated with gold. And he basically profile you. Like, oh, does this person want a bag of weed, or do they actually want a gold? And the golden flower is supposed to be like, because it was so expensive, it was like a way to show off to your lady to buy the golden flower. But people knew secretly that actually you could get a bag of weed. And so that's how he would get around it, is he was selling flour, get it? and like the golden flower was how you get weed from him. And he was able to go through districts because he was given a special license for his business. So he was able to go from district to district and not get caught. And he just paid off the police and stuff like that. And I remember I eventually grew my own weed. I grew weed in my apartment. I had my own weed plants.
That is so hilarious. It had to be the Germans that did it
People like to
first.
drink off world too, man. People like to drink off world. On Mars, Johnny Walker Red. Johnny Walker Red. You'd find that. People would like to drink that. Yeah, it's people like to party on Earth and off Earth.
This is so funny. I was gonna have to put up ourselves comment your break.
Maybe we should get a breakaway, bud. That's funny. Yeah.
That is hilarious. Where's Joyful Janine? She'll enjoy this. Joyful Janine's one of our viewers who's always having a puff. So she'd be enjoying the fact that there's weed on Mars, I'm sure. Wow. Anyway, wow, what an interesting topic. Okay, thank you so much. Anything more you can tell us about spiders that are that are being drug mules on Mars?
The biggest thing that I want to say is just because a being looks nasty. Okay, some of the most evil, disgusting, vile, piece of shit creatures that don't even deserve to breathe air that I've encountered have been human beings, and some of the most peaceful, nice, loving creatures have been like giant creatures who would be terrifying to you. And that is something that we need to get over if we want to go into the next level of humanity. Just because it's a bug or a lizard or whatever and it looks different in you does not mean it does not deserve the same amount of respect as a living being that something that looks like you does. The fact that they have used that as a tool in their tool chest to keep us down, not just other creatures but us. The fact that we think that just because something doesn't look like us, it deserves to be treated a certain way. Like the whole, when it comes to bugs, either squash or be squashed thing. The bugs were just defending themselves. They were just defending themselves. So I just want to point out there that just because something looks nasty or scary or mean doesn't mean it is. They can be friendly. So it's kind of a weird note to end on, but I think it's important to bring up.
I think it's very important. And I think, unfortunately, as human beings have the kill culture. If we don't like it or if we're scared of it, we just kill it. If we don't like a spider, we'll just kill it. If we don't like a bug, we'll just poison it. If there's a snake in the garden, we'll just chop its head off. And as an animal communicator, I can tell you for sure that is not the way to get rid of a problem at all. You got to connect on a spiritual, emotional level. And as you say, it's so true. And I'm so loving what you've said there. Basically, that it doesn't matter what you look like. I mean, there was an alien who was your father. I mean, what a beautiful story that is.
Yeah, I mean, like, I get emotional when I think about him. It chokes me up. Like, he took care of me. Like, yeah. Like, I still look at him as a father. Like, I still look at him as a father figure. I still look at him as a man who raised me for an entire life, who took me into his home. So, yeah.
That's beautiful. And, it's the same thing, as an animal whisperer, the minute you love an animal or an insect, anything, that animal feels it and they respond in a loving way. Mm-hmm. It's through fear that we attack each other. As you say, the ant colony on Mars.
Yeah, and that's why even though it sounds like silly to be like, when I'm like, hey, like, eat good food, take care of yourself, go on walks, making yourself happy is important. It's because coming from that state, there's less fear, and it manifests in the world, and it just spreads. It just spreads. So it's like, it sounds woo, but it's not. And we all know this. We're all friends here. We know what's going on. It's not woo.
Absolutely not.
I really got to use the bathroom though. I have to.
Okay. Well, we've hit the 2 hour spot. Okay, we've hit the 2 hour spot, and thank you.
Yeah, and have me back. If you want to have me back about the music industry, I'd love to talk about that. And if you'd like to have me
sure.
I want to meet Jessie. I think it'd be only fair to meet her on your show, and I just think that would be great. I think we should do that. So
We'll
let's keep in
arrange that.
touch. Yeah, let's keep in touch.
Take care. Thank
All
you,
right.
ARKHEIM.
Much love, everybody. Thank you for paying attention. My testimony means a lot to me. Have a nice
I love it. Thank you.
later.
Okay. Wow, guys, what an interesting story. What incredible. I definitely have to listen to this again. I think it has to be the cutest thing that ants have spiders as pets. And I wonder what else they can have as pets. I look forward to having ARKHEIM here again. What an interesting topic. What interesting guests we have. I'm just so happy that you guys are all speaking up, and very happy for those of you who didn't watch my show last night with Caleb. Caleb's back, so get that. That's on the birthday show. Got a membership channel now, so please join the membership channel. We'll be putting out a lot of cool things. And I will see you all tomorrow with Double Trouble with Jesse, and Thursday with Dr. Dennis. And then I'm actually away, got a family wedding on this weekend. So I'll be away for a few days, but I'll catch you again the week after. Check my Gnostic channel. There's a few new shows that have gone out. Jerry Marzinski's doing some incredible case studies about when he was in the mental health care industry, telling incredible stories about people that were schizophrenic, their experiences, how he dealt with that. Very interesting. And of course, Jesse's show is going up again. So watch my Gnostic channel, and I will definitely see you all tomorrow. In the meantime, there should be a join button. Join, not joint. Yeah, joint. I'm talking about it'll be a joint button. Maybe we'll have a joint button on Arrow instead of join. Take care, everybody. Lanessa, nice to see you again. I love seeing you all in the chat. God bless you all. Take care, everybody. See you tomorrow. Goodbye.